Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am back. I feel empty. I'm good. Yeah. Welcome to our live session of talking about 7,000, what 7,000 means. And I apologize of how I look like. I told my mom today that, I don't feel active. I don't feel active. Make me something that just makes me feel active. So she made me something. Apparently, instead of making me active, my mom put, I don't know what she put. Apparently, she made me radioactive. So, yes, a little radioactive here. So today we're going to be doing our seventh house stuff. And if I can just, wow, did I just, what did I do here? Oh, okay. Here it is. 0. Wow, back to myself. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about seventh house and what seventh house means in astrology. So, as you know, seventh house in astrology. Can you guys hear my kids in the back? Please. I thought you guys were sleeping. This is yeah. Okay. So, um okay, now they're asleep. Okay, so seventh house in astrology. Seventh house, as you know, represents marriage, business, partnership, and it represents career, mass fame. Seventh house represents your enemies. Seventh house represents sexual organs, sexual life. Seventh house represents vacation homes. Seventh house represents your enemies, the opponents, or pretty much the world that you come across. Um, Seventh house represents the physical features, the physical body of your spouse. Whether you're a male or female, doesn't matter. It is the physical body of your spouse. Because I know a lot of classical, literature or classical knowledge like, this, uh, Virat Parashra Hora Shastra. They mainly always talk about physical features of the husband, you know, or they will say the husband is this and the husband is that, but it pretty much means the spouse as well, the female spouse as well. Um, Seventh house is where you negotiate things. Seventh house is where you feel happy. Seventh house is happiness. Why seventh house happiness? And this has nothing to do with Bhavad Bhavam. Think about it. It's a very logic thing. If you really look at life, you can determine the meaning of the houses. The reason why seventh house represents happiness, what really makes us happy? Most of the time, for common folks, I know you all guys are all going to go into your spiritual realms and talking about your spiritual sadhanas. What makes a common man happy is interaction with another human being. If, let's say, I was the only one in my city, one person in my city, I had nobody to talk to, nobody to deal with, I might go crazy. Unlike I Am Legend, I'll make like mannequins into women and men and start talking to them. Life. But anyway, um, so seventh house represents the people that not only become your enemies, your opponents, but people that give you happiness, people that make you feel comfortable. So comfort is also seen from the seventh house. Then Seventh house represents debts of your family. The type of debts you will run into, like what type of debts does your family have? They have to, they obviously most of the time it's money. That's related to money. But why money? Maybe it's related to real estate. It's related to, some jewelry, something. It represents the enemies of your family, not you, your family in general, like your mother, father, siblings. Okay. Um, Sixth house or seventh house also represent obstacles of the family. What creates an obstacle? Most of the time is the husband or wife or spouse creating the obstacle for your family, right? Like when you get married, sometimes most people come say like, "Oh my God, I can't get along with my family since I got married." Why is that? Because again, seventh house activates those things. When you get married, see what the thing is, seventh house gets activated in certain positions. They get activated when you get into marriage, when you get into a relationship, like a committed relationship, when you get into business partnership. Business partnership is seen through seventh house. Seventh house represents children of your siblings, especially siblings of your younger sibling. It represents your second child. It represents the educational interest and level of your younger sibling. It represents the creativity. It represents the spontaneousness of your sibling. It represents the intelligence of your younger sibling. Then, seventh house represents vacation homes. Seventh house represents home away from home. Seventh house represents the hoarded wealth that you keep away from home. Like, for example, yeah, I have a bank here in DC, and I keep most of our jewelry, some of my luxury items in the bank. So that is my hoarded wealth away from my home. Like our passports and social security cards, all of these things are sitting in the bank safe. Then, seventh house represents your grandmother, maternal grandmother. So, one of the ways, see, how do you interact with women in your life? How do you get along with women, other people in your life? Is you'll see your interaction between you and your grandmother, maternal grandmother, and that's the way you're going to relate to other people as well, other women. Whether you're a man or woman doesn't matter. When it comes to relationship with women, specifically relationship with women is the seventh house, and you can see that through your own judging your own relationship with a grandmother. Now, obviously, if your grandmother passed away before you were born, well, that's a different thing. Don't know, how your relationship could have been with her. And it represents the skills, communication style of your firstborn, your first child, their ability to, their skills, their skills of hands, their ability to play sports, dance, their interest in traveling is seen through the seventh house. Seventh house also represents victory of the enemy. Seventh house represents wealth of your enemy. Seventh house represents the gain of or improvement of health. It represents wealth of your aunts and uncles. Your maternal aunts and uncles' wealth is seen through the seventh house. It also represents the loss of longevity, loss of semen, loss of sexual life. So not only represents the sexual life, it represents the loss of sexual life. Like actually, if Purva Shada Nakshatra is involved, One may temporarily become celibate with the seventh house or eighth house matters. It also represents the loss of interest in hidden knowledge, research, occult, mysticism. So certain, let's say, planetary transit come into your seventh house. Certain planetary planets get activated with the seventh house. Instead of gaining interest, you may lose interest in occult. You may lose interest in astrology. Be like, forget it. I don't want to. I don't care for astrology anymore. Or I don't want to research anymore. I have no interest in research. Seventh house represents the gains of your father, desires, hopes, and wishes of your father, achievements of your father. It represents the elder sibling of your father. Eighth house or seventh house also represents, like I said, your career, promotions. More than the career, promotions, rise in life is seen through the seventh house. Let's say your seventh house dasha became active. Your seventh house sign Chara dasha became active. Or your seventh house sign Yogini dasha became active. It'll show rise in life, especially depending upon how the planet is placed. You want to make sure seventh lord is not, certain places from seventh house. Yeah, I don't want to say it which house because then you guys will all, oh my god, oh my god. Seventh house also represents the religious and spiritual beliefs of your elder sibling. Represents bhagya, meaning the rise of luck for your elder sibling. It represents the long distance journey your elder sibling may take. So perhaps let's say moon rules your seventh house. Okay? Moon rules the seventh house, maybe sitting in the seventh house, and this dasha becomes active. And if you have an elder sibling, you will see your elder sibling will start traveling a lot. Like either going to a different state, different countries, traveling. Why are they doing that? Because we can see that through your seventh house becoming active as their sibling. And seventh house represents death of your spiritual life. Seventh house represents going away from spiritual life, going away from your sadhana, going away from wanting to get enlightenment. Because remember, seventh house is marriage, right? And once you are in the bondage of marriage, that means you have to have a family. You already created a family by having a spouse. And then naturally, most of the time, children will come in. What happens? Are you going to keep meditating? And you think the bills are going to be paid off automatically? You think somebody's just going to start giving you money? Sure, that may be. You may win a lottery. But most of the time, responsibilities of the family, marriage, dealing with the marriage, will take you away from your spiritual life. It'll also, seventh house also is a loss of your intuition. Your intuitive, your intuition. Let's say if you are a psychic, let's say you are in tarot, an astrologer, and you had a great intuition before marriage. After marriage, it may go down. Usually, it always goes down. And you have to really work hard. Or what happens is this: marriage may rejuvenate your spiritual life. It may kill your spiritual life, and then it'll raise your spiritual life again. So now you must be thinking, wow, Will, he's contradicting so much here. No, I'm not contradicting. Remember, there is no contradiction in astrology. You know why? Because life is a contradiction. Life is a contradiction. We contradict from one moment to the other. In our mind, we sometimes say, oh, I'm a very spiritual person. Why am I supposed to do this? The next time, and within an hour, you're like, oh man, I won that thing. Like sometimes I'm sitting here alone and I'm like, my goodness, this is heaven for me because I can do my spiritual practices here. I can look at the trees. I can meditate in the office. I don't have to deal with the real world. And then the next minute, I'm like looking at like watches, and I'm like, oh my god, I want that watch. You know, it happens. It's called watch porn. For me, I love watching videos on like watch reviews. Like if you saw my other YouTube account, it's nothing but like watch reviews. I don't know what it is, man. It's hard. And actually, I remembered my story of why I fell in love with this particular watch too. I'll tell you guys some other time. I figured I found out. I got it. But yeah, so seventh house represents loss of spirituality, loss of sadhana, but also it represents rejuvenation of your spirituality, rejuvenation of your sadhana. But also, seventh house represents jail, entrapment, confined spaces. People say 12th house is a jail, right? Yes, it is. 12th house, third house, and seventh house are also jail. Now, jail doesn't mean that it's prison. Sure, it's prison. But jail also means that now you have to abide by certain laws, rules, regulations. You no longer are free. So, what happens when you get married? Can you be sitting at a restaurant and some beautiful woman is sitting across the table? You go walk up and start hitting on that woman? See how that works out for you. You see a hot, like tall, dark, handsome man walk by your table and you're gonna like look at him? Wow. My God, honey, did you see him? Woo! See how that works out. So seventh house is very, very important. And seventh house also represents um, your own health, your own body. Seventh house actually represents your body as well. It's the development of your body. What your body turns into. Why? Because remember, it's like a mirror. You're looking at a mirror. This is me, the first house. This is seventh house. I'm looking at the mirror. What do you see in a mirror? You see yourself. Just like the projected image of yourself out there, but also represents what the body turns into. Like I was all skinny and handsome, and now I'm like this. Seventh house, man. Seventh house became active. Shut up. Enough of my stomach jokes. So, yeah, that's what it is. So this is the seventh house. And there are various ways seventh house becomes active. I mean, it's not just the transits that active. See, transits may active either your seventh house or seventh house related situations of your family members. But seventh house really obviously becomes active through marriage and business partnership. So let's say you got into a business partnership with your best friend or somebody, and you sign on the dotted line. Like, okay, we're partners. You have this much share. I have this much share. From that day onwards, whatever I just described right now will become active. So if let's say you're in a business partnership, okay, you're having business meeting with your partner, you hear somebody right next to it that he's looking for somebody to partner up with, and he'll invest $10 million in the investment, and you're like, oh my God, man, did you hear that? See ya. You'll get up, you'll sit at there. Oh, I got what you want. How about we do partnership? Can you do that? No. See how long it lasts before you getting into some legal battle with your partner. So even in partnership, you'll have restriction. You can't just go out there and invest in something. You can't just go out there and make a business deal. You have a partnership. You're gonna have to discuss things. So this is why it becomes important. Like, let's say you signed on the dotted line of your partnership. What's gonna happen is within a month or two, you may take some of your hoarded jewelry. Let's say you collect gold. You take gold and you put it in the bank. You're like, I just want to be safe in the bank. And that's what happens. So Like it's funny. Like literally after 3 months of me marrying my wife, whatever my mom had given me, my mom had given me like good amount of gold to as she just passed it on to me. I'm like, you know what, hun? Let's just put this in the bank. I don't want to put it in. We were living in the apartment at that time. Like, I don't want to just leave it here. So I'm like, let's just put it in the bank. Then we got a safe in the bank. Then we transferred the safe here. And it's so when you think about it, like it just things just became active. Okay? It's so funny. My after I got married to my spouse, my elder sister traveled to Thailand. She went to Thailand, Malaysia. She also went back to no, not India. She hasn't gone back to India. She went to visit those places. She even went to Dubai to visit. So within like 2 years of me marrying my spouse, I saw my elder sister traveling, and she has never traveled. She's like she's a hermit, So these things are so true, so true. It's just it's unbelievable. The activation of the house has to be there. Yeah. So whatever, transits you're having in the seventh house, don't just look at your own life. Oh, Saturn is coming in my seventh house now. Oh my God, I'm not gonna be in a relationship, or it's gonna put responsibilities on my relationship. Sure, it may do some of that, but mainly look at the lives of your family members. Look at the situations that I just described. Saturn in the seventh house, transiting right now, let's say you're a Gemini ascendant, Saturn is coming into your seventh house. Do you know what Saturn is actually going to do? It's going to destroy your enemies, and the wealth of your enemies will be destroyed. If certain things matches, either you will suppress your enemies, they will have a hard time dealing with their own wealth for that time being. They will have problems in their own family. Whoever you consider your enemy. So don't just look at seventh house as like, oh, it's going to affect my marriage. It may not. It may actually better your marriage, especially for Gemini ascendant people. Saturn is a Raj Yoga given planet. Saturn is actually as a Trikon Lord transiting the Kendra. So it actually is a Raj Yoga position in Kendra for Saturn. Now, of course, on a mundane level, Saturn in Purva Shada can bring wars in countries. Declaring a war could happen in Purva Shada Nakshatra for Saturn. In Mula Nakshatra, lot of hidden, what do you call, hidden secrets come out in the mundane world. Hidden sexual urges come out in the mundane world. And I know all this scandal that is happening with Harvey Weinstein, that is in the news about sexual scandal. Many people are saying, see, look what's happening. This thing is happening, and now sexual scandals are coming out. See, people are thinking, or astrologers are thinking, that God only affects United States through yearly transit. You have to show me that sexual scandals are happening all around the world. A celebrity is coming out, or somebody's coming out with sexual scandals all around the world, only then you can say that. If it's happening on a one country, and especially with one person, it's their own horoscope. It's their own chart that is bringing this scandal out. You can't say, well, Jupiter is moving here, or Rahu's moving here. Now look what's happening in the world. It's not in the world. You have to show me something's happening in Canada, Argentina, India, Australia, China, Malaysia. Some sexual scandal is happening. Okay, then we can believe it. Then we can see, okay, how this is affecting the entire world regarding sexual scandals. It's just one country and one person, and go on those things. Okay. So, guys, and then next week, I'm going to be making a video on Ashtak Varga. I'm going to discuss Ashtak Varga, but I need to prepare something for Ashtak Varga. I have to make sure that I don't blab out my mouth during my video, because Ashtak Varga is that one thing, that really puts a damper into a lot of people's spirits. And the reason why I say this is I saw my own Ashtak Varga back in 2006, I think, or five or six. And man, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just doomed and nothing is going to happen to me. Look at my score, it's so horrible. But obviously, that was the immature stage of understanding Ashtak Varga. Ashtak Varga goes deep. You can't rely on your birth chart, Ashtak Varga. And the way you all read your Ashtak Varga in the birth chart, it's not really the right way you're studying. So I'm going to be discussing that in a way where it's not doom and gloom. And especially, I always encourage people, take your Ashtak Varga courses from Mark Boney. Mark Boney, my Ashtak Varga guru, my Jaimani guru. Man, he just laid it out so beautifully for me last year. He cleared many, many doubts, and he has learned so many secrets about Ashtak Varga from K.N. Rao that you can really get to see, like some things that you won't find in books or classical literature. It's like observation of K.N. Rao himself, that he says this is how it is. He says it, that's the stamp on the thing. So I'll make that video, and I'll make it in a way where it's just easy. Like, you look at Ashtak Varga, how you'll know things. You'll know things. But the thing about it is, Ashtak Varga is like, once you learn the score and the internal score, like once I found out my internal score, besides my birth chart score, I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. But once you look at things from a surface, if you read an article on Ashtak Varga, it's not going to tell you anything. A 1 or 2 page article doesn't really tell you anything. Like, my video may have to be like a 2-hour video or something for me to explain this Ashtak Varga to you guys. So you get it. You look at a chart and you get it. But the problem is, if you get it, then you'll know your own, why you are suffering financially. And you may suffer financially for a long time, but there are ways to overthrow Ashtak Varga, all the yogas in your chart. Get a blessings of a guru. Blessings of an enlightened guru. And there are not too many of them. Once you get that, everything is over. And I've been lucky enough to have a blessing of a guru back in 2010. Like, actual blessing. So that's my little take on it. Okay? So, guys, see ya! We'll see ya. But tomorrow or something, I guess, with some new video. Right? Oh, by the way, another thing. I'm also doing my research in the past month on psychopaths. What makes a person psychopath? Hey, Oreo, shut up! Thank you. Oreo! Guy, man, he sees anybody walk outside the door and he goes off. But anyway, yes, I'm doing my research on psychopaths. What makes a person a psychopath? And especially what makes them commit a murder as a psychopath. So I'm doing a research. Most definitely, there are 4 nakshatras that are coming over and over and over again. However, I'm not really finding the accurate time of birth of psychopaths. So if you guys know, maybe in your own country, of psychopaths, they were convicted and their birth data is there, leave that in the comment so I can look at their chart and see if they coincide with what I'm finding. But man, nakshatras, that's it. Nakshatras can tell you just like that about who the person is. Like, for me, I'm telling you, I know most of you more than you guys know yourself. Especially if you're 2022, I can literally say it now. I know you better than you know yourself. And that's the easiest key to astrology, nakshatras. That's it. Yeah. So let me know some of the things so I can research. Thank you.